Hey guys, Dr. Justo Marcagiani here. Today we're going to be talking about how to calibrate hydrochloric acid and digestive support if you're having an issue. And so I'm going to kind of go through the standard way of how I deal with patients and what I do to kind of calibrate that and make that dose work. So first off, if we're adding in hydrochloric acid, if you have active gastritis or any history of ulcers, I always tell patients start with at least a teaspoon of vinegar. If you can tolerate that, then we can move our way up. But if we have any irritation or overt warmness or burning, you can do like a teaspoon right before you eat a meal. Put it in a shot glass, ounce or two of water, just shoot it down. If you can tolerate that, then you can go up. I typically do not add any hydrochloric acid in capsule-wise or tablet-wise until we can handle 1 tablespoon. Now, if you have active ulcers, we may want to just pause that and just work on enzymes, gut lining support, and bitters. And we'll do alcohol-free bitters instead of anything on the acid side out of the gate. Now, again, if your gut lining's thin, you need acid. The problem is that gut lining is so thin, it's like you get a sunburn, you go out the next day, even with a sunburn, even with morning sun, you still feel that burn, you still feel the irritation. Everything is super, super sensitive. So we got to work on gut lining, and you have to figure out what the triggers are. A lot of times it's gluten, it's food, it's casein, there may be H. pylori, there may be SIBO. These things could all be at play. So if you're a typical patient coming in and you don't have like overt burning or irritation, or at least not a history of ulcers, we're going to add in hydrochloric acid. Usually 1 capsule, add around 500 to 700 milligrams is a good starting dose. If we're on the fence, we can always do 1/4 of a capsule and just mix it in food and just do it like that and titrate up slowly. So if 1 does not work, or you're on the fence and you want to go slower, we can always start with 1/4 to 1/8 of a capsule. Just eye it, mix it in your ground beef, take a bite, done. And then you can go up from there. If we're sensitive, we can always leave hydrochloric acid to be the last thing we add in. So here's the protocol sheet I typically have for patients. I always have acid and enzymes on here because so many of my patients have digestive issues. I like to individualize it because if you have your enzymes all in with the acids together, and let's say you only can handle 1 acid, well, now your enzymes are locked out at 1. Versus maybe I want to go 2 or 3. If I have them separated, now I can go higher on the enzymes and not have to worry about stopping the HCL early. So we'll work on the HCL first if we don't have any gastritis or if we have any pain. Typically, I always work from the top down. If we have gastritis or pain, this is going to be the last thing we add in. So the first thing we may add in may actually be gut lining support. So in my line, we use gut lining support called GI Restore. It's got N-acetyl D-glucosamine, it's got glutamine, it's got aloe, it's got DGL, it's got okra in there, vitamin U. So good stuff, good healing nutrients. We'll mix in water and drink on an empty stomach. And usually we'll do 1 serving. It's like a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons. And so we'll do 1 serving. And if patients do well on that, we can do it twice a day, morning and night. And a lot of times I'll have this little checklist right here. This little link here will be there for patients. And so if patients have any issues, if you click that, that will also bring you to a handout that elaborates on this. But the goal, some patients want to watch videos, right? That's the goal of the video. I'll just pull that up for you guys. So that's how it looks right here. I'm going to replace this video and put a new fresh one in here now. So this kind of walks you through everything here. Again, you can open that up if you're a reader. If not, we're going to go through it on the video here now. All right. So first off, any irritation, we're going to focus on GI Restore first. Next thing we're going to focus on, I talked about why. Soothing the gut lining. If you can't tolerate the acid, it's because your gut lining's thin. It does not mean you don't need the acid. If we have history of gastritis, more acute history, or ulcers, then it's always going to be the last thing we do. And I typically do not recommend adding hydrochloric acid in until we can handle 1 tablespoon of vinegar, or we could do lemon juice, right? Lemon juice is citric acid. Apple cider vinegar is going to be acetic acid. They're both similar pH, lower 3 on the pH scale. So we have GI Restore. Next, we'll add in, I move things around. Again, everything is customized to the patient. So I'm kind of giving you like my worst case scenario here. Someone's really lit, they're really inflamed, they have gastritis, they have that thin mucosal gut lining. We're going to be adding in bitters. Typically, I have a lot of bitters that I have access to, and we'll do ones that are alcohol-free with the vegetable glycerin. And you can mix in water or put directly in your mouth just before a meal. Again, if you're sensitive, you can literally do it as you're eating. If you're not as sensitive, you can do it 5-10 minutes before. Again, we customize for everyone. So usually 1 to 60 drops. Again, 30 drops is 1 dropper. And so we'll start at 1, and then you can go up in 5 or 10 or 15 drop increments. If you feel good, listen to your body. So we'll start with the GI Restore, start with the bitters. We'll work on the enzymes third. Enzymes tend to be not irritating. There's no acid there. So you can start with 1, you can go to 2, you can go to 3. Anytime you see a dosing range, work your way up. If you don't feel good as you go higher, you feel worse a little bit, you can always pull back, then the next day stabilize, and then try it again. See if you notice a correlation where you can handle it, or if that higher dose continues to make you feel worse, then we know that maybe there's a causative element there. Same with the enzymes. Start taking the middle of the meal, right? And then titrate up and see what you feel best. Patients are like, what do you mean feel best? It could be better motility. It could be food feels lighter in your stomach. It could be better energy. Just use your general intuition, see where you feel best. I tell patients 1 to 3, smaller meal 1, up to 3 for a bigger meal. Titrate it up, see what you feel best. And again, on hold, these are for patients. If we're not recommending it, it's on hold. Again, for the demo on this video, just ignore it. And then HCL may be the last thing. I have 2 kinds of HCLs. I have Digest Synergy. This is my lower dose HCL. So if someone's coming in, has issues, we're probably going to put them on Digest Synergy. It's a tablet, so you can get a pill quarter or you can quarter it. The dose is lower. It has pancreatin in there. It has pepsin in there. It has some good stuff. So we'll use that a lot of times, and that can be very helpful. Or we'll go on and we'll do a full bore HCL Supreme, which is a little bit higher dose, about 3 times higher. And then if we don't have that gastritis history, this protocol is going to look like this. It's going to go up like this. We're going to add this at the top of the list. We're pulling the GI Restore and the bitters out, and we're probably just going to be on the enzymes. And that's it. HCL and enzymes. Now, if we have difficulty digesting fat, if we know we have gallbladder issues, we get extra nauseous when we eat fat. Let's say our stools look floaty or clay colored or blonde colored, or we have excessive streak marks on the toilet seat or excessive wipes. Like if you're having to wipe more than 3 to 5 times, that tells me it's fat in your stool, and that's why it's smearing, right? And so that tells me we're not emulsifying it. We probably have excess steatocrit in the stool. That's where we'll add in the Liver Supreme. And again, same thing, we'll take in the middle of the meal and to support fat digestion. And so with this, we want to pay close attention to how the stool looks. Is it floating? Right? Floating, remember oil and water, right? Middle school science class, right? Oil and water, right? They attract, or I should say they repel, right? Oil floats on top of water, boom, like magnets, opposite magnets, right? Boom. And so what we want to do, the stool's now floating, we want to see that stool start to sink. In some situations, the stool could float because there's a lot of fiber in it, so it's not like a steadfast rule. That's why I look for the clay color, look for the blonde color, look for the excessive streak marks. That's a wiping. That's how you kind of know. But if you start to see it float, and now it's sinking after you add the bile in, right? Oil and water, they separate. So that's what you want to keep in mind on them. So 1 to 3 on that. And so if you start to see the stool float better, you're handling fat better. These are all good things to do. If we have active gallstones, we may add in some Shankapiadra. We may add in some Tugka as well to help break down that stone as well. So in general, Liver Supreme, I may not add that in with everyone. This has ox bile in it. It has some dandelion root. It has some beetroot extract, some things that thin out stones, things that help with fat digestion. But typically we're adding in HCL and enzymes. If someone's sensitive, we're adding in the Digest Synergy over the HCL, and then the order. We're going to add in the GI Restore first if we're sensitive, the bitters second, the enzymes third. The acid or the bile salt will be next, and then the HCL would be the very last one, depending on if we have fat digestion issues. And again, this is all customized for patients. I'm just giving you a general idea. If you're a patient and you're watching this video now, this gives you an idea of how to calibrate that dose. The biggest issue most patients have a problem with is the HCL. And so we either do the Digest Synergy and we get a pill quarter and we just start with a quarter of a tablet with food, or we can open a capsule up and do a quarter to an eighth of a capsule. How do you know that? Just eye it. Just pour a little bit into your ground beef, have it in a bite, done, call it a day. Or you can even do just a little bit in like an ounce or 2 of water, just stir it up and shoot it down and then eat right after it. And may even want a bite or 2 of food in yours, just so the acid's not up against that raw lining by itself. But that's why acids, if we have any gastritis, it's always the last thing we do. We work on the gut lining support, work on the bitters, work on the enzymes, maybe even the bile, and then the acid's the last thing. And then we'll try to get someone up to a tablespoon worth of ACV or lemon juice before we add in the real deal. Hope this helps. Again, I've been clinically in the trenches 15 plus years, 5,000 plus patients. And so I try to only do things and apply things that I see work time and time again. And when it comes to dealing with patients that have chronic health issues, we're trying to get to the root underlying cause of why it's there. I mean, your conventional gastro person or gastro doc or PCP, primary care physician, is going to just throw acid blockers every single time. We know acid blockers are linked to chronic kidney disease, studies on that, and it doesn't fix the underlying issue. Is it warranted? Is it necessary? It may be. The problem is acute palliative modalities end up being used chronically. And so if we overdo like an acid, for instance, we can always take a little bit of baking soda. We can always do a teaspoon of baking soda and some water, shoot it down. But if you're on a Prilosec, talk to your doctor, right? Calm down the inflammation, make some of the diet changes, get stable, and then the acid is going to be the last thing we ever add in. It's gut lining support, it's bitters, it's enzymes. We're doing things to calm the food down. We're avoiding maybe a lot of raw food or roughage. We're cooking our food in an Instapot to make food very easy to digest. Maybe adding in my ginger tea recipe with the Manuka honey, very soothing. So again, if you have issues, anything with gastritis or irritation, you're going to want to talk to me about that. And you're going to want to individualize the approach. This video is here to help you customize it for yourself. Patients doing these things, it's a weekend, they can't get a hold of me. A video is really good for you to work on it yourself, but please reach out, get on my schedule so I can help you customize that dose further. And if you are on Prilosec, please make sure you're not on an acid, get the gut lining stable, let your prescriber know, and then let me know so we can work on getting the inflammation down before we do anything with any acid. Hope that helps. Just want to make sure people have enough information to arm themselves and do well, but not so much information where they hurt themselves. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, I'd love to see your comments down below. I appreciate it, and have a great day. Bye now.